We set out to design and build a passive house for my father, David Bowie. Not that David Bowie. My dad is an engineer and he loves data. He really loves data. So much so that he thought it'd be a good idea to have us design and build our first passive house.
He didn't just want a passive house. He wanted a residence that incorporated design ideas he'd experienced living and working around the world in countries such as the Netherlands, Sweden, and Japan. We set out with an ambitious goal, and although we faced code and technical building challenges throughout the process, we succeeded in making a spacious, sustainable, and smart passive house.
At times, there were challenges that seemed daunting. However, we found the key to executing our first passive house was to remain flexible concerning budget and scope, while being stubborn regarding the aspects of design most important to us. We learned to be flexible and stubborn. We wanted to change the perception of a passive house by designing larger interior volumes, open spaces, and floor-to-ceiling windows. Initially, the design was for a 3-story, 3-bedroom home. The design evolved to take on the form of a vernacular Scandinavian home with a steep roof and a modest footprint. That was not a typical home in a neighborhood full of craftsman bungalows. The main living level was open to the kitchen and the stairwell, leading to the second floor. The master bedroom was designed to have a dramatic double-height cathedral ceiling with exposed structural ties. Our plan was to create a striking form with a steep pitch roof, which also turned out to be an efficient form for the passive house energy model. Unfortunately, during the permit process, we lost an entire floor due to the existing site conditions. The site was located on a peat bog, and the city would only allow a shallow excavation of 30 inches and a lot of pin piles, 34 pin piles to be exact. I was stubborn, and I wanted to keep the initial form and geometry of the 45-degree roof, but I was limited by the zoning code and the maximum allowable height. After much collaboration with our passive house consultant, Dan Whitmore, we decided to incorporate a loft with a ladder access. Surprisingly, the loft ended up being one of the favorite interior spaces for the kids and allowed more natural light to infiltrate the stairwell. It became a tree house inside the house and a great spot where the kids learned they could launch their stuffed toys from.
There is more than energy modeling to a passive house. The durability of materials is really important as well. We wanted to use a product that complemented the striking herringbone design, but didn't require a huge amount of maintenance.
So we decided burning some cedar would be a great cladding solution. We used a Japanese method of charring wood called shugi ban. This method inhibits mold growth and does not need to be retreated or refinished for decades. Since a torch was involved, Joe wasn't going to pass up the chance to burn stuff. So he decided to perform the labor himself. He even made a video on Vimeo. Like any project, he estimated the job would take 2 weeks tops. It took 2 months, with the help of my father. By the time we got to the interior finishes, our budget was getting a little lean. I wanted this really light Scandinavian interior with super wide bleached oak floor planks, like you see in Denmark. I realized the wide planks were gonna have to go, but I wouldn't compromise on the color. We looked at site finishing versus a pre-finished engineered floor, and in the end, after weeks of shopping and visiting what seemed like almost every flooring showroom in Seattle, we finally found the product that matched my criteria. The bleached oak floors throughout the residence turned out to be one of the most striking interior features. The exterior cedar deck was stained to match the interior floors and creates a seamless transition to the backyard.
Passive houses are all about energy efficiency and a really tight air seal. A typical code-compliant house allows about this much air through the cracks, and our house allowed a hole about this size. To achieve this, we used the green zip panels and Prosecco to fill the gaps. The Prosecco goop took some getting used to. For every blower door test, Tiffany would roll around in the crawl space on a creeper that we got from the auto supply store. It was dark down there, and she could see the light shining through the holes from above. She would have her Prosecco gun at the ready, frantically sealing any penetrations in the floor. Most of the Prosecco ended up in her hair, and FYI, it does not wash out easily.
It doesn't wash out at all.
For the project, we had three blower door tests, or as we call them, Tadashi disco parties. There is a smoke machine and a crazy red light coming through the blower door fabric. We passed with flying colors, but there was a lot of anxiety going into each one. We had a few of our guys climbing around on the roof, finding smoke coming through cracks or pinholes in the sheathing. They loved that.
An indoor-outdoor connection was made with a large floor-to-ceiling, high-performance, triple-glazed sliding unit leading from the living room to the deck. We also had these larger windows with irregular shapes for the eastern and western facades. The windows took months to manufacture and ship from Ireland. We were pretty excited when they finally arrived. To our chagrin, some of them came in pieces with no instructions. When we asked the window manufacturer how to maul and install them, they said we could look it up on YouTube. Eventually, we got them installed, and it felt like Christmas.
You know when you meet someone and you're like, where are you from? What do you do? When I met Franck Rougier, the inventor of the Curio system, I was like, I'm building a passive house. And Franck was like, wow, I invented a magical system that can make your energy efficient home even more energy efficient. So we wired the Palatine passive house for the Curio system, and it is one of the first test homes to try it. Curio has an app on the phone that not only tracks your house's electricity usage down to the 10th of a volt, but can also control the HRV for climate and comfort, and control other systems in your house. It's also really handy when playing tricks on your father-in-law by remotely turning the lights on and off, on and off.
It's really great seeing the attention and recognition this project has received. And we're excited to be speaking to you here tonight at the Green Building Slam. We accomplished our goal and learned to compromise where we needed to while sticking to our guns for our design principles. It was really rewarding to design a home that honored my father's cultural influences while introducing new tech, meeting codes, and adhering to rigorous passive house standards. We just had to be flexible and stubborn.